Well, today is Africa Day 2021, Arts, Culture and Heritage.
We will be taking you to Zambia, where the Zambia president pardons 579 inmates.
And in Mali, the militaries detain the president and the prime minister. We'll tell you more.
And what's trending across the continent? All on Breakfast Central.
Also, we'll take you to Kigali, Africa Basketball League Day 8 action, and who's qualified for the knockout phase. All right, happy Africa Day, Africa, and we're starting breakfast this morning with a look at the morning papers. Let's start in South Africa with one of my favorites there, the Sowetan, to see what they have this morning. So, a big story there, abuse in schools worrying as 2 more teachers burst for rape of pupils. And we hear that 361 cases of sexual misconduct against educators reported since 2016. More of that on the front page and indeed on page 2 of the Sowetan. But there's an interesting one here, quite a sad one. You can see that picture of a rail line. So it's the Mayfair station in Johannesburg, which is among hundreds of train stations that have been vandalized by criminals in the network in Gauteng. Now, the Transport Minister, that's Fikile Mbalula, yesterday described the extent of the vandalism at the station in Soweto as huge and likely to cost billions of rands to rebuild. More on that on the front page and indeed page 6 of the Sowetan. And also at the top left, the search is on, or the next Miss SA. Bold and beautiful, I have to say, even bold. Africa first, as we love to say here. And from toxic marriage to success in business. And more on that, the victim's mom still sees son's burning body. More on that on page 8 of this morning's The Sowetan.
From South Africa, Sowetan, we're moving to Kenya. We're looking at the Daily Nation this morning. And the Daily Nation, we have that we're looking at the advice we're getting from the former CJ, that's the Chief Judge, that's David Maraba, and Deputy Chief Judge Philomena Nwilu, who warns of tough tax ahead. But of course, Chief Justice Martha Koome is coming out to say, help is here, I promise. That's according to the Daily Nation this morning. Now, you can look, if you see the papers, you'll see that there's a glance of the priority areas they're looking at. They're looking at the backlog of cases they have. They're also looking at the technology that will make the service better. They're looking at funding, which is number 3. And number 4, judiciary independence is also what you're looking at. You have a whole lot more of this on the Daily Nation from the Kenya paper this morning.
All right, from East Africa, let's segue to West Africa with The Guardian, which in Nigeria. Okay, so what do we have this morning? It says the President Buhari plays the southern governor's open grazing ban, says it's a power show, and has declared the Asaba declaration questionable and offered no solutions. And President promises to move against killer herdsmen and scores killed in Benue Plateau midnight raid. More on that, which is the big spread story on the front page of The Guardian, which means the president not really happy with the southern governors who have clearly put open grazing on a ban. Now, on the bottom there says more worries over borrowing, foreign reserves depletion, says the growing foreign reserves for $40 billion may douse FX tension, inflation, says Nigeria borrowing to fund salaries and trips. More on that on the front page of The Guardian in Nigeria.
From Nigeria, we'll move to Uganda, looking at the Daily Monitor in Uganda. Taxes is one of the top stories we're seeing here. The upper left, I beg your pardon. Page 17, it says new taxes would deepen burden on taxpayers. You have that to read in the Daily Monitor this morning. Talking about the House, that was the election that happened just recently. Obilanya and Nita take over House. Now you will see the picture over there. That is President Museveni, who presents the parliamentary maze to Speaker Jacob Obilanya after he was declared winner of the race that pits him against the former Speaker Rebecca Kadaga and the MP. Also, you have more information on this as well. Still on the Daily Monitor in Uganda, we're looking at fake drugs. This is on page 3. Fake drugs flawed the market, says the paper this morning. You have this and so much in the Daily Monitor for you to read.
All right, so there you have it. For the morning papers today, 25th of May. Yes, it's a Tuesday, 2021. Don't forget, it's Africa Day, as we said earlier at the start of the show. So you can use the hashtag Africa Day 2021 and also join us using the hashtag too, hashtag NC Africa Day Experience. What are Africans saying about today? Let's check this out.
This is Denzel Oni Daruji from Houston, Texas. Just calling to chime in for World Africa Day. What I would like to see in the next few years is a greater Africa, and what that's going to require from us will be better leadership. I'd like to see better governments throughout all the countries in Africa. Also better relations. I'm very impressed with things like the African Union that's helping put things together for us. And I'd like to see more tourism. I'd like to see like my colleagues and friends here in the United States, they're always going to the Asian countries or the Hispanic countries for vacation. I want to see more people going to Africa for vacation, and that's going to require better tourism. Africa go better.
My name is Sango Nibelamanga. I am the president of the Fako Ellis Cultural Association, Greater Houston. This is one of the biggest cultural groups from the English-speaking part of Cameroon in the United States of America. Every year we join our brothers and sisters in Africa in particular and the world as a whole to celebrate the Africa Day. Since the creation of this group, Africa has seen nothing but wars, military takeovers, and famine. As we continue to celebrate this day annually, we are very hopeful that Africa will rise from military takeover to democracy, from wars to peace, and from famine to excess food. I want to wish all my brothers and sisters in Africa and the world a very happy Africa Day. God bless Africa.
It is still World Africa Day, and we are starting the top stories with Zambia, where the Zambian president, Edgar Lungu, yesterday pardoned 579 prisoners ahead of the African Day, which is celebrated annually on May 25th. Now, the head of the country's correctional service announced this in Kabwe, which is about 140 kilometers from the capital, Lusaka. Now, he said that the president's action is in accordance with the Article 97 of Republican Constitution, which provides for presidential pardon and substitution of severe punishment imposed on convicted persons.
According to reports, the pardoned individuals had been rehabilitated and ready for reintegration in society. Now, this year's theme for Africa Day, the annual commemoration of the Foundation of Organization of African Unity, which is now the African Union, popularly known as AU, on May 25th, 1963. Now, the Africa theme for today is arts, culture, and heritage, levers for building the Africa we want. Well, Well, still Breakfast Central on Africa Day. Thank you very much for watching. Let's take you to West Africa, where the African countries are marking the day. Soldiers in Mali have detained the president and prime minister of the interim government in the country, and this is according to United Nations and African Union, which is deepening the political chaos in the sub-Saharan African country just 9 months after a military coup toppled its previous leader. Now, in a joint statement on Monday, the two bodies called for President Ba Ndor and Prime Minister Moktar Ouane's immediate and unconditional release, and said the international community rejects in advance any act of coercion, including forced resignations. All right, still looking at Africa Day today. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin has sent congratulatory messages to heads of African states and governments, noting that African countries have reached what he claims significant successes in economy and social sphere. Now, Russia's special presidential envoy for the Middle East and Africa, that's Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov, in a message during a conference on Monday, said it is symbolic that this conference begins its work on the eve of Africa Day, celebrated on May 25th.
Now, President Vladimir Putin used the occasion to send congratulatory messages to heads of African states and governments as well, where he particularly underlined that African states have reached significant progress in the economic and social spheres and play an interesting role in addressing current issues on the international agenda.
Well, speaking from Ghana is senior political editor, journalist, and host of Awake Television, that's Frank Wolanyo Nyoneto, on the significance of Africa Day.
For me, as a political journalist and someone who follows politics keenly, not just in Ghana but on the African continent, I feel that the significance of the Africa Day, it's no more, has lost its weight to a certain extent. And I'm saying this because our current leaders do not seem to have a focus on finding solutions to Africa's problems. We are a continent that is currently producing some of the youngest populations in the world, very professionally trained, but can't get opportunities on the continent. Our leaders are still flying out of this country. As I'm talking to you now, our leaders somewhere in France last week, and I do not know what it is that they are looking for in France that cannot be found on this continent. So I'm of the view that if we want to progress on this continent, make a difference, probably in the next decade, Africa can change the destiny of its own youth within the next decade if we put our feet down on the ground. The politics is becoming too much. We need to stop the politicking of every issue. And our leaders need to communicate. They need to engage. We elect people into office, and by the time we realize none of them is prepared to even speak to us.
Also shedding light on the essence of African Day is security analyst Dr. Sadiq Adutwom from Ghana.
To some extent it is, because we cannot refute the fact that we are a continent that has come far. Somebody will say we're Bejeke. And so in as much as we have some lapses or we have some more work to do, our forefathers who fought for us, we cannot undermine the blood that they shed for us, and so it's still significant in that sense. However, when it comes to our developmental agenda and then that collective unity of leadership for the continent to progress as expected, is very low, is very slow, and so when it comes to the developmental aspect of it, one may say that it might not really be relevant, but we have come far. And so when we put our shoulders to the wheel, we'll be able to get to where others have gotten to. It's a matter of time.
All right, interesting comments there from in Ghana about what Africa Day means to them and perhaps their thoughts for the future of Africa. And let's go straight now to News Central's Head of Research and Monitoring Desk, Abdulateef Ahmed. Abdulateef, good morning to you. Well, happy Africa Day. First of all, why is it important that we celebrate, Africa Day for every one of us of African heritage?
Yeah, good morning. Well, it's a beautiful day. 25th of May of every year is seen as a day worthy of celebration across the continent. It comes from the African countries basking in the air of excitement and the break away from colonialism. So the African Organization of African Unity was formed essentially to push and buttress the hope, the aspirations, the goals of a united Africa. So essentially, that is what Africa Day is meant to connote. And then we look at it from the perspective of celebration and then a projection into the future of Africa.
All right, talk to us about the shortcomings of Africa and Africans and how these shortcomings have affected the growth and development of the region.
Okay, so while there's a lot of hope for Africa, Africans themselves have continued to be held by a couple of challenges. We are looking at economic, social challenges, security challenges, lack of distribution of wealth, job creations and all of that. So these are some of the things that are facing, or the challenges that are facing Africans. If you look also into the ease of travel between African countries, you realize that Americans or Canadians can travel to about 15 to 20 countries in Africa without having to have a visa. But Africans can only travel to like 3 countries without the need for visa or by getting a visa on arrival. So some of these challenges are things that we should have worked out from within and across the continent.
All right, Abdulateef, as part of the monitoring desk, you've been seeing what people are talking about across Africa as we celebrate, Africa Day. So what are they really saying that, our leaders can do differently as we celebrate and mark Africa Day today?
Okay, well, what a lot of people are looking at is a better Africa, a more secure Africa, an Africa that would welcome people from wide and near instead of all the negative stereotypes about an Africa that is dogged by war and all of that. So people want smarter cities. You want cities that are efficient, where you have potable water, not just that, you have access to health, access to funding of your ideas, because ideas rule the world at the moment. So Africans want to see a continent where things are a lot easier, a lot more accessible. Yes, we are about the wealthiest in the world in terms of mineral resources, but Africans also want to see that there is better human development in terms of human indices across the continent.
All right, that's it. But just before we let you go, the AU, which is the African Union, have chosen a theme for this year, which is arts, heritage and culture, levers for building the Africa that we want. Lateef, and from an African to another, and for other Africans watching across the globe right now, which Africa do we want? Which is the Africa that we really do want? Any ideas what that may mean?
Well, Africa, as it is, as you all know already, is not homogeneous as the case may be. So, if you hand me peace, you hand me an opportunity to be able to wake up and go to bed without concern and fear over who would, come over at night. An Africa where our kids can access the best of education. An Africa where you can have the best access to healthcare services. We want an Africa that will afford us all the joy and hope and aspirations and goals that we had dreamt of when we were little. That is the Africa that we all want.
All right. Thank you very much, Abdulateef Ahmed, News Central's Research and Monitoring Desk. Thank you very much for coming on Breakfast Central. Happy Africa Day once again to you.
Happy Africa Day.
All right.
It's such an exciting day today. A lot of Africans, even outside the African continent, the ones in diaspora, are also excited, and they're looking forward to some of the basic amenities, just like Abdulateef rightly stated, talking about social amenities, having to wake up and you don't have to think of where to buy well to pump your generator. You don't have to be Minister of Electricity in your house.
Is that the Nigerian
you don't have to be the
EU
Minister of
speaking, or the African EU? Which one?
So the one that comes across African nation is Minister of Transportation. You don't have to be your own minister in that case. You don't have to be your own Minister of Health. As it were, because we understand that a lot of African countries are also going through the health challenge, not forgetting that we have COVID that is still in between our midst, as we speak.
All right, the Africa that we want.
All right, so what does Africa Day actually mean to you? Or this, what we have here is some of our NCT members. They have a lot to say about African Day. Let's take a look.
Hello, my name is Fatuma Kalala Alimasi. I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo. This year for the African Day, my African dream is that Africa tomorrow may prosper. And for Africa to prosper, we have to trust the youth, to show them our culture, to show them the heritage, to show them our art, and especially for Africans who are in the diaspora, we don't want our kids to be lost. We need to teach them to love African, to love that they are from African descent, and to know that tomorrow belongs to them. But for them to know it, we have to teach them today, and also love among us Africans, so that African tomorrow can be bright and it can be also what we are seeing in the continent.
My African dream is one that we Africans can be able to move without restrictions to any part of Africa with unlimited visa and other restrictions. My other African dream is to have accessible healthcare and education for all Africans in each part of the continent. My African dream is one that we have long-lasting peace and stability in each and every part of our continent. Finally, my African dream is one where young creative Africans, be it in sports, arts and technology, are able to earn through their talents for the long-term future and success of our beloved Africa.
Africa, you got life. Africa, you are life. Africa, you my home. Africa, you got soul. Africa, you the future. Don't listen to those lies. You are the one. Africa, I belong to you. Happy Africa Day.
Wow, I liked Lala's, poetry or poem about African dream and the Africa she wants, the Africa of all our dreams. And also, the one also from our East Africa correspondent, Abden, too, on African dream.
I mean, a lot of our dreams, they cut across. I mean, if you listen to what everybody has said from the beginning of the show to now, a lot of the things are what we all are looking forward to. We're looking forward to peace. We're looking forward to less wars, stability. We're looking forward to better healthcare, education, access to other African countries without restrictions, transfer of our heritage, our culture from one generation to the other, especially those in diaspora. I mean, we look at ourselves, even in our home countries here, a lot of our children do not understand our culture in our country.
I guess that's why, the AU have gone with the theme for this year, arts, heritage, and culture. And even we've gone with the theme today. I'm liking your beads. Like, this is a bit, South African feel.
African feel.
I've gone the full,
I can see the Ankara, the fabric, and you also representing the African nation.
All right, don't forget to use the hashtag Africa Day 2021 and NC Africa Day Experience. Use those hashtags throughout, not just for Breakfast Central, on the news, on our programs for today to follow. And also tell us, what is your Africa dream?
All right, so we have on News Breakfast on News Central for you today, coming up next.
On Africa Day, stay with us.
On the world of sports, Basketball Africa League Day 8, more action in that.
And programs to watch on News Central, don't miss it. special on this wonderful Africa Day, Tuesday, 25th of May, 2021. Don't forget to use the hashtag Africa Day 2021 and hashtag NC Africa Day Experience. We have been taking you to hear from people across Africa, from Zimbabwe, Zambia, and also Ghana. Well, let's take you now to Cameroon, who we have joining us this morning, none other than Joan Ngoma, who is a broadcaster and a proud African celebrating Africa Day today. Welcome, Joan, and happy Africa Day to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Olisa. Happy Africa Day to you as well.
All right, Joan, and now talking about African Day, what does Africa Day mean to young broadcasters like yourself?
I mean, first of all, can I be honest? So I really don't know why Africa has a day. It's not like there's a Happy America Day or Happy Asia Day or something. But since we're celebrating the origin of Africa and celebrating the successes of the AU, so Africa Day for me would be just celebrating the continent and the fact that it's still standing. And everything hasn't been taken away from the continent yet. And we still have very hardworking young people trying to make a living out of their circumstances that they find themselves in, bad leadership and all of that. I think at the end of the day, we just have to be happy, right? That we have somewhere where we call our own, and we're celebrating it today. So that's it for me. And perhaps for all young broadcasters here in Cameroon, it's not like freedom of speech is guaranteed after the speech. So broadcasters here don't really have an opinion, but they are using social media to their advantage and try to send a message out to the public as much as they can. All right. So that's what it is for us.
Yeah, you just pointed out, Cameroon, in spite of, the problems there we know, but how are people, what are the mood for people when it comes to Africa Day? Are they really excited about Africa Day? Is it being discussed, all around Cameroon this morning?
I doubt that. Maybe on social media, people are going to just follow the bandwagon and say, oh, Happy Africa Day, without really necessarily knowing the meaning of it. I think where I am in the southwest region of Cameroon is one of the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon, and it's been plunged into a crisis since 2016. So I don't think the young people here are very enthusiastic about celebrating Africa Day. Meanwhile, they're questioning what has the AU done to actually curb this crisis since 2016, where thousands of people have been dead, especially young people, and properties destroyed, and hundreds of thousands displaced. So nothing really has been done by the AU to help this situation. So I really do not think that young people here are celebrating that day as much.
All right, now, talking about the English speaking, you're in a part of Cameroon where my family grew up in. But looking at that part now and looking at the crisis that's happened since 2016, what should be done differently by Africans to avoid us from being in that situation for as long as we've stayed in the southern part of Cameroon as we speak?
I think Africa has had a long time problem, which is leadership, bad leadership. And I don't know when that problem is going to be solved, but as far as I know, what should be done differently, especially in my country, to help the young people. I'm very concerned about young people because I think they are the future. I think that Cameroon needs socioeconomic balance. And for us to get that, we need the government to work on the economic policies that they have here. Taxes are incredibly high. I mean, you cannot even open a company without paying taxes first. I don't know where that happens in any other country in the world. Equal treatment of every Cameroonian. I think there's a disparity between Francophone and Anglophone. And in as much as the bilingualism ought to be working for us, I think it's working against us, because that's one of the reasons why we are in the crisis in the first place. Employment rate in Cameroon is really high. Unemployment rate is really high. Young people do not have jobs. But in as much as I want to see all the problems, I think that since this Africa Day, we're celebrating arts and culture, I think for the entertainment side of Cameroon, the young people are actually trying. You have the artists, the filmmakers. 2 Cameroonian films went on Netflix. I mean, that is the first since I was born, I think. So it is incredible to have those kind of successes. I mean, they are small, but they go a long way to actually give hope. And that is really some of the things that we really want to celebrate. The music is going far, because we had a Cameroonian, the only Cameroonian on the Beyonce album, Salatel. And it really made urban artists to know that, oh, we can do something. we can do something to get somewhere. We have Stanley Eno, who was nominated for the Mamas. So those are the few things. Those are some of the things that are giving, arts and culture department or sector some hope. So in as much as I want to really talk about the problems, I think there are some good things that we really need to celebrate today. So Africa Day is really working for us today.
All right, Joan, I just to make it a little light, I mean, I would like to hear, because you're from one part of the world where I can relate to. I mean, my people, they come from that your side, no, I would party the same kind of palais. So how would they take, would they party the same kind of palais? But how you want to salute people now for your countryside? Say all those peasants folks, how you come, so how they take salute them in your language?
Oh my God, that's me. You putting me on the spot right now. I really do not know how to speak my dialect, which is a shame, by the way. I probably blame my parents for that.
So what do you speak then?
No, I speak English. I speak English.
Right?
My father is a Nigerian, actually.
Oh.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
and I suppose a bit of French too.
Yeah, un peu de français, mais c'est bon.
Good.
See, all right, all right. I wonder how your household would have been, back in the 90s or even these days, football-wise. Don't mind me. When I see the Indomitable Lions, I'm always like,
Oh man, it looks like those Indomitable Lions became rats at some point, because I mean, you guys were whooping our asses, if I can say that.
Oh my gosh, you did not. Lions against the Eagles. Well, the Eagles have been trying against the Indomitable Lions.
Oh, that's obviously every time I watch that match, it gives me, good. Right. I always end up drinking alcohol, even though I don't drink alcohol.
All right,
because we win.
All right, thank you so much, Joan. Thank you for your time on Breakfast Central.
Much.
I mean, we're also here wishing and also appreciating the fact that you are also out there and you're trying to make things right by being an example to other young journalists, even in Cameroon, despite the situation of things that is happening around your environment. But thank you so much for being on Breakfast Central.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank you so
Africa
much.
Day, Joan. Bye-bye.
Happy Africa Day, guys. Take care.
All right. Right then, still with the program here, 4 African conservative heroes have been recognized at the UK Charity Awards. More on that right here.
This is Breakfast Central, and we are celebrating Africa Day. Let us now tell you that 4 Africans, conservation heroes, have actually won awards for their effort to protect wildlife and natural environment at the UK Charity Whitley Fund for Nature. That's WFN Awards.
Now, the Whitley Awards support grassroots conservationists from the Global South who are leading impactful projects in their home countries. Now, this year's top gold award of £100,000 in the project funding was awarded to Kenyan conservationist Paula Akuhumbu for her outstanding leadership of Africa's conservation movement and support of her outstanding work to secure justice for wildlife and citizens in the fight against ivory trafficking and habitat destruction in the country. Now,
Iroro Tashi from Nigeria was recognized for Bats from the Brick, which is a participatory action to save the short-tailed round-leaf bats. Now, Iroro is a PhD candidate and a teaching assistant, lecturer, research fellow. The list goes on and on. Well, we have Iroro on the program. Welcome to the program, Iroro.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Happy Africa Day to you, Iroro. Welcome to the program. Now, tell us about your conservation journey and how you emerge as one of the 4 Africans to be recognized for this.
Well, thanks for having me on this program and to sort of get into how I got recognized. It really just comes from working with local people. And my work with the shorter round-leaf bat started in 2016 when my team and I discovered the only known population in Nigeria. So we were the first to record this species in Nigeria, and that was where it started from. But for anybody who's either watched the Whitley Awards, you would probably know from that story that within 10 days of discovering the species, my team and I were, chased from the forest by wildfire. And that just gave us a first-hand experience of what was happening to the species. And we immediately launched a project with the local community to say we need to put an end to wildfires. So wildfires would destroy a species ecosystem, its habitat. And so it was an automatic decision to make sure that we could protect the species habitat. So you go from discovering the species, and all of the excitement to, oh my gosh, there's a threat that you have to address immediately, because let's not forget this was a vulnerable species at the time, so an endangered species, and so it needed immediate action. But then to protect the species, you need funding, you need to apply to all of these organizations, and we felt that our work was worthy, at least, or was good enough for attention, so to speak. And so that's kind of where it all started from.
All right, now looking at the awards that's been given, what does this mean for you and other Africans that were recognized?
Oh, wonderful. So the Whitley Awards, as you said, recognizes good conservation work from the Global South. And what it really does is that it raises the profile of winners. So as you know, in fact, you probably first heard about my work from the Whitley Awards, or at least some of the media that came with the Whitley Awards. So it really brings attention to the species, it brings attention to the scientists or the conservationists working on the species, but also raises their profile. So you get such a prestigious award, people want to listen to you. And that really means that you are able to do your work with a bit more support and confidence, because now oh my God, I'm getting recognition. That means I'm doing good work, and that means let's keep doing this. But also for young conservationists who obviously haven't received the awards, it signals something. It signals that hard work pays, staying focused pays, doing good conservation work pays. And conservation, as people typically think of it as a non-lucrative career, is not really the case. So it is something that you can build a career out of, you can get a lot of international recognition for. So it signals a lot of things, both for the winners and for those who haven't won, to say, do good work.
All right, Iroro Tanshi, thank you very much for coming on Breakfast Central. Whitley Awardee recipient for your good work on Bats on the Brink. I wonder why bats in the first place, but hey, great work all the same, Iroro. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Right, still Breakfast Central. Now, there are reports that the Nigeria House of Representatives is about to scrap the National Youth Service Scheme, and this move has been generating lots of controversy. Well, Elizabeth Musa is here to tell us all about that. Good morning, Lizzie.
Good morning, Olisa and Oluchi. How are you guys today?
We're doing great. Happy Africa Day, Liz.
Happy Africa Day to you. You look amazing.
Thank you. All right, so
about the House of Representatives scrapping the National Youth Service Corps, which was actually formed in May 22nd, 1973, under the General Yakubu Gowon. Yeah, this is actually coming in line. The scheme, which allows graduates of tertiary institutions to be posted to different parts of the country to serve as a means to foster unity amongst different tribes whilst developing common ties, is now seeing considerations of being scrapped as it is now built for its second reading. Here are some of the reasons for this consideration. One of them is the killings of core members in different parts of the country as a result of banditry and religious extremism. And number 2 is the usage, supposedly, of core members by private and public agencies without gainful remuneration and discarding them off after the service year. And also the increased level of insecurity. Core members are given consideration during posting by being posted to their own geopolitical zones, which defeats the purpose and essence of the scheme, which was meant to integrate and promote cultural ties amongst different ethnic groups. So this is why they're considering scrapping it, because if it's no longer, serving its purpose, then why do we need to have it? So there are some tweets in line for this. Of course, social media users, netizens are reacting. So let's check out some of the tweets in this regard. So that's one from Toyosi Godwin. It says that there's nothing techy about NYSC. This is something that deserves being talked about. No one is talking about digital skills, only left match, remove address and all that stuff. So that's one tweet. And then there are more tweets, people are reacting. So when I said scrap the mandatory NYSC, I knew exactly what I was saying. The scheme is now obsolete, and traveling across Africa is now one of the 1,000 ways to die. So those are reactions. This one says the NYSC should not be scrapped. It's needed now more than ever. So this is somebody that is of an opposing opinion. He believes that we should still have NYSC, and those are the reactions. So moving on from that, still in Nigeria, the commercial capital of Lagos, Lagos City, is on the trends map again. But today, it's all about the lifestyle that characterizes this city. The entire trend was sparked up by tweets by a certain netizen, which I like to call them, who goes by the Twitter handle Cream Chick. In her tweet, she highlighted that being classy in Lagos is all about spending money on overpriced restaurants, overpriced local designers, and overused designer items with people wearing the same popular trending outfit. While this may or may not be true, social medias have definitely chimed in, recounting their own versions of Lagos living, which they also may have found ridiculous. So that's the tweet from Cream Chick up there on your screen, where she talks about how, Lagos living is more about, classy living, which is, in quote, or not on quote, or not in quote, it's just fake life. So she just believes that there's so many overpriced restaurants and all that in Lagos. I don't know what you guys make of this, because I feel that way sometimes. Well, at the same time, I believe that you should know in Lagos, it's a mix of both. You have the places that cater to every pocket, depending on where you are looking. So you can't just put everything under one umbrella and say, you know what, this Lagos is like this, and we can't even demarket Lagos at this point, because we know that Lagos is that place where everybody visiting definitely needs to be. So that's all I can bring for you on the Trend Wave today. There is such a short time, and today is Africa Day. There's lots to do, so we have to keep it moving. I was following
her thread, that tweet. It was a full thread on Twitter from.
Full thread. She was on a roll, and then I don't know. There was a counter tweet to that where a lady was. I don't know if people are saying probably she was sent by the Lagos State, or where that one said that you can't just come and say things like that. That we have the place, we have Mega Chicken, we have places in Lagos where you can, go that
are quite affordable.
Well, I guess overpricing and, something as she pointed out. But thank you very much, Liz, for the latest on the Trend Wave.
You are very welcome.
All right. Wow, quite a lot to pack in today. Africa Day, 25th of May, 2021. Don't forget to follow our hashtag NC Africa Day Experience and Africa Day 2021. Join the hashtag, join us, and we'll be having lots of conversations about it throughout our programs today on News Central.
All right, so there are some programs for you to expect on News Central today. All right.
Okay, at 9 a.m. we've got News Central now, just about 9 minutes from now.
And 7 p.m. West African time, we have Village Square Africa.
And tonight at 9 p.m. West African time, it's NC Continental Prime. You don't want to miss it. All right, that's the program for you. Many thanks to all our correspondents, all our guests that joined us from Ghana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Cameroon.
As well.
It was quite a lot to pack in today. Happy Africa Day once again.
We will see you tomorrow. Thank you to all on behalf of our production crew, on behalf of everybody in News Central and Breakfast Central. We're wishing you a happy Africa Day, and we're wishing you a very lovely day ahead.
All right, don't forget the team Arts, Heritage, and Culture. On behalf of the crew, we say bye-bye for now.
No.